It's the 90 Minute Cynic podcast. I'm your host, Chris Gallagher, and I'm joined by Louis McCaffrey.
Hello, Chris.
And Christopher Boud.
Hello.
Good to hear. Good, nice, enthusiastic. I like that. Good start. Louis is wearing a very festive jumper. It's got reindeers on it.
Yep. It's not too many. How many days is it till Christmas? 260?
Yep, so moving on really quickly, because that was awful. But no, so we'll start. We've got a few things to talk about. The site's been ticking along very nicely. The previews are up every Saturday. We've had some interesting kind of articles and player profiles. Marek Robert has been quite prominent in doing the player profiles recently. So check them out, 90MinuteCynic.com. Also follow us on Twitter at 90MinuteCynic. And we'll be doing the podcast every Monday, so if you've got any questions, just tweet us. Okay, so let's just start with Glasgow Celtic and the game against Hibernian yesterday, Sunday, the 26th. Yeah. So Celtic won 4-0, with obviously Commons opening up the scoring as he does every bloody week. Commons, then Van Dijk, Commons again, and who scored the fourth? Pucky. Pucky scored a terrific goal. Just get your thoughts on it, Louis.
I didn't think it was a great game until about the 60-minute mark, and then Celtic kind of get a bit more control over the game, and then obviously when the Virgil van Dijk scored that brilliant free kick that kind of killed the game from a Hibs point of view. I know Terry Butcher was going mental after the game about that decision to give the free kick.
What, the legitimate decision for handball?
Yeah, the clear handball. And I think maybe the Hibs players obviously felt kind of wronged at that point, and the heads did go down a bit, but I thought Celtic just kind of, to their credit, didn't kind of stand off them, which Celtic do quite a lot when they're ahead. They just went for it and got another couple of goals, which is brilliant.
Boud, your kind of brief kind of summarising thoughts on the game overall?
I'd very much agree with Louis. If you're fair to Hibs, 4-0 might be a bit harsh. I don't think it looked that way up until the latter half of the second half, where Celtic did really start to put their foot in the gas. But fair enough, another clean sheet. Few goals in the bag. Pucky scored, as you said. Van Dijk, what a free kick.
Is there anything he can't do?
No, literally.
So there's nothing that Van Dijk can't do.
Stick him in goals, see how he does.
Oh, it'd be terrific, Vinnie Jones-esque in goals. But so you were happy with the result. Louis obviously mentioned not playing that well up until the the kind of second goal went in. I thought we started quite brightly. I thought we went about our business quite nicely in the first kind of 15-20 minutes. And then it just, after we scored that goal, it's time again with Celtic, we scored an early goal and then we're almost like a rudderless ship. Like, it's hard to be critical because 21 games we're unbeaten over a lot of games, right? We're winning, we're keeping clean sheets. And it is hard to be critical, and you feel almost embarrassed for picking on things. But it wasn't great. We weren't playing great between about the 15-20th minute until we kind of scored the second. And it was just a bit dull. Lack of creativity, Louis.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Hibs played well. I mean, that Zubier boy.
Yeah,
I thought he was brilliant. I've not seen him much, but I thought he was really good. He was definitely putting himself about and getting stuck in, and he was creating things for them. The other young boy, Stanton, he was really good. And if it wasn't for Fraser Forster making a few fantastic saves, especially from him, then we could have easily have been behind.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I mentioned it kind of pre-match. I thought Harris, he impressed me also, but Stanton really stood out for me. I thought as much as we won, and towards the end it was quite comfortable. Let's be honest. But Hibs did have some kind of periods, but they just didn't have the colour of instinct up front. That guy Collins is shite. I mean, sorry to use. He's a moany shite footballer, and he shouldn't play football. So there you go. Boud, are you impressed with what Terry Butcher's done?
I hate to say it, but he's doing well. He does the butcher has some chops about him.
Oh dear.
Yep, I'm applying for that job at the Sun.
Yeah.
No, he's doing fairly well, and as you said, 4-0 was really, really harsh on them. That was me that said that, but yeah, I'll agree with myself.
Okay.
So I could see it's maybe a bit late this season. They're down in 7th now, but come next season, Hibs might be one of the teams pushing us.
Yeah. Just looking at 9 consecutive clean sheets in the league. Best defence we've had in living memory. This is a kind of question you can have posed, Chris. Louis, is it the best defence that you can have that we've had?
A smile there.
I wouldn't. I mean, they're definitely on a great run, and you can't take that away from them. Best in living memory. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I mean, I wrote that question thinking they really, really aren't, but 9 clean sheets in a row.
Yeah, I mean,
the centre back pairing.
I thought Ambrose was rubbish yesterday. I thought that was one of Ambrose's worst games, and
Ambrose
he's okay to have. He's entitled to that. I could have seen the referee giving the Van Dijk one as a penalty. I know there's been a lot of debate about whether it was, whether it wasn't. I'm not saying I don't think it was a penalty, but I could maybe see why the referee, seen it in a snap decision, might have given it. But is it the best defence? I don't think they've played along together in terms of the centre half pairing to really be able to.
It's not even the first choice, I would say, because I mean Matthews or Lustig would take the spot off of Daniel Fisher. And
who keeps getting caught out of position? He keeps getting caught out really high up the pitch, Daniel Fisher. So there you go. That's just a point I'm making.
I've not really been that impressed with Izagiri lately either.
I actually think Izzy's playing really well. I'm one of Izzy's biggest critics.
I thought he certainly was playing better in some of the games I watched at Parkhead, but just the last couple of games, I feel defensively I don't think he's been that great. And I think attacking wise, yeah, I mean he'll maybe put in 6 good balls out of 10.
That's been generous. I think he's about 4 out of 10 to be honest.
But defensively, I think he's still got a wee bit of work to do.
I think if Izagiri was a good crosser of the ball, I think he would have left us. Because I think he's terrific. I think he's got a great engine. I agree, but Izagiri's the type of full back that just is going to be weak, vulnerable at the back, and because
partly due to his height as well. Because I remember in the first half, yesterday the boy was right behind him and he couldn't deal with it. And the boy was unlucky with a header. But whereas if the likes of Lustig doesn't really have that problem as much, that he's taller but he still is athletic. I mean, he can still get up and down the pitch.
Well, we've mentioned this many times on the podcast. I don't know, you're a huge fan of him, Chris. I certainly am too. Michael Lustig is just, I think he's handsome. I think he's got a lovely wife. He's certainly a family man. He's just a terrific human being. I bet you he does a lot for charity. I bet he reads lots of books, and I bet you he's got a really good taste in music. Chris, thoughts on his taste in music?
Be a fantastic taste in music. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
But no, he's a great player. Again, one of the best we've got, and we said it before. Just we're spoiled for choice there with Matthews as cover for right back, or I think if that's where you're going. I mean, some people would argue Matthews should be there ahead of Lustig, but
Matthews injured just now. And it's another injury for Matthews. So with Matthews and Forrest consistently being injured, you got to look. I think we have to look at why they're consistently injured. Is it they're being brought back too quickly? Is it something that's just they're always going to be injured, or is there something in training that's not working? What are your thoughts on that, Chris? Like how long do you give someone before you think to yourself, "Well, this is a waste of time"? If they're consistently being injured, do you say to James Forrest at 23, "Look, we give you a nice 6 months, and then if you're injured again, we'll maybe think about moving you on because maybe it is us." I don't know. Thoughts?
I don't think you can have I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all for that, Chris. I think you've got to look at it all individually. And there's certain players who can be injury-prone, who can still be good enough to do a job when they're there. John Hartson got plenty of injuries, but what a player he was. Mark Wilson was unfortunate.
But we pretty much didn't give Mark Wilson a contract because he was injured. Yeah. That's why he didn't get his contract renewed,
basically. But he's still a servant of the club for quite some time. One of the best.
The difference with Wilson is he got a fracture. Like, as far as I'm aware, well, Matthews did get a fracture, didn't he, on his leg? So fair enough about Matthews. But Forrest, I don't understand. He's back for 3 or 4 games and then he's injured again. It's really, really frustrating, and I'm sure it's frustrating for him as well. And maybe that's why he's not getting, playing as well as he is, because he's not getting that consistent run. But I thought it was quite interesting. I watched the game with my father, and my dad, like what I'll say is, the whole Pookie Baldy debate again. Not starting them again. We basically weren't really playing with a striker yesterday. Nobody's crying out for Dirk Bourichter to play. He was on the bench yesterday. So we're calling for Puckett to play. We're calling for, bring on Baldy. But is Dirk Bourichter, does he fit into your future plans for Celtic, Louis?
I think he certainly does if Samaras, or if and when Samaras leaves. I mean, he's going to go, isn't he? But I think he
has to go now. I think the fans have made the decision for him as well.
Yeah. I think in terms of having a kind of left winger, there's not really anybody else that would step in there into the kind of Savaras role that he's been playing over the last few seasons. So I think Bourichter, for that reason, it kind of has to be in the plans, because he gives us an option that maybe other players don't, in terms of being a kind of left winger. But I thought the team selection was a bit weird yesterday. Samaras playing, I just never expected. I never seen it coming. And then Beaton starts, which I thought was great, and then he gets taken off at half time.
What do you think about that, Chris? Beaton?
He must have been injured, no?
I don't think he was. I think he was just punted. I think we've talked about Neil Lennon. Like every manager, this isn't just down to Lennon. Every manager has their favourites. Every manager has players that he wants to play every game. And clearly Charlie Mulgrew and Scott Brown will play most games they're fit, which is okay, fair enough, he's got his favourites. But I thought Charlie Mulgrew was I didn't think Bitton was any worse than Charlie Mulgrew. I thought Bitton started his passing was terrific, very crisp, his pass and play movement. So why take someone like Bitton on, who needs the games, needs the experience, and leave someone like Charlie? Even if Bitton's having a bad game, it needs the time to actually get over that, guys.
Well, I was watching the game and I thought that Brown and Mulgrew were the two weakest links in the midfield. I thought Beaton, I remember one time he kind of gave the ball away, or it was a misplaced pass, and it was towards the end of the first half. Yeah. But other than that, I thought Joe Ledley was really good yesterday. And I just felt that there was a few times with Mulgrew, especially, he gave the ball away a few times, and I just kind of thought Brown kind of went missing at times in the first half, and I just thought, when I seen the Beaton was coming off, I just couldn't quite understand it. But as you say, Lennon's got his favourites, and Mulgrew's definitely one of them. He's going to be shoehorned into that team no matter what, I think.
Bowdy, Louis is slagging off your bird. Scott Brown, thoughts? Is your bird on it?
Scott Brown is a delightful footballer, and he put in a great performance yesterday. So it wasn't. But no, I pretty much agree. I would say I was surprised to see Bittengoff, but I don't think I was surprised as such. As we've said, Lennon does certainly have his favourites. I think it was don't think it was necessarily saying that he was doing poorly. I think he did want to change it up a bit and become a bit more offensive. Yeah. But as you say, there are at least two other people there that might have made way. Well, Mulgrew, really, I would have chosen, but
it's not typical of Lennon to make substitutions at half time, though.
Yeah.
That was the thing that struck me. Fair enough, maybe on 60 minutes if he's really wanting to change it, but to do it at half time, I can't really remember Lennon doing that.
Maybe he did take a knock. I didn't see anything in the game, and I've not seen anything since.
And the thing you're saying there about Pookie and Baldy, the partnership with them, I mean, it was Baldy that won the header to put Pookie through that resulted in the penalty.
Yeah. To give the manager credit, which he thoroughly deserves, the change, it changed the game. Pucky, he won the free kick, he won the penalty, and he scored. So kudos hats off to Lennon. We're sitting here moaning about bringing a player off. I just think it was the wrong player, but Pucky should have started. I don't understand why we've got two strikers on the bench and you play a guy who Samaras had a free role yesterday. Samaras went wherever he wanted. He went from the left wing to the right wing.
What was he told to? That's
well, see if you tell a guy like Samaras, who's a seasoned international, I want you to stick to the left, which I'm sure he wouldn't have told him to stick to the left wing, but because he's a striker, innit? Scored goals. Listen, I love Samaras. Was it the Celtic fans that were shouting Samaras get to fuck yesterday, or was it the Hibs fans? Because I thought it was the Celtic fans. I may be mistaken. I don't know. But what I'm finding is people have decided they want him to leave now. People are absolutely outraged that he's not signed a contract. He's a businessman as much as anything else. He's got a week to decide. If we were in that situation at work, we would take it to the point where we've got other options. Samaras, future at Celtic, Chris?
Oh, he could do. I don't think he does, but he could do. He's one of our best players, so I think Celtic should be doing our best to keep him here.
Louis?
I would have said that this time last year, but now, no, my opinion's pretty much totally changed.
That was Louis singing.
There he is.
I think he's got to go, but yeah, you can kind of see it from his own personal point of view. It's in his kind of best interest to run his contract down.
Yeah, but it's also in his best interest to wait to the last day of the transfer window, and someone comes in, and all of a sudden we've got a £1.5 million bid for him, and he turns around and says, right, I want to go. Fine, you can go. We're getting $1.5 million from you. It makes sense for him and the club, I think.
But you wouldn't get that kind of money.
$1.5 million? You would. I think you would easily get right now. I'm talking about obviously up until the 31st of January.
He's good enough to go into the Premiership, so he's good enough to cost $1.5 million.
I think.
You don't think teams at the bottom half of the Premiership would take Samaras?
No, I do. I don't know why I interrupted there. That was weird. In terms of,
isn't he going to Atletico Madrid?
Well, apparently they've been interested in him.
And why not?
Absolutely. He's a Champions League goal scorer.
Serie A, La Liga, EPL, Samaras could boss them all.
The one thing that does annoy me is the fact, have you seen any of his agents' cryptic tweets?
No.
Talking about it and all the transfer negotiations and all that. It's like, come on. Stay classy.
That's not that cryptic.
No, yeah, I can't read them out to you, but if you go and have a look, you'll see them all, and it's like letting a player run down his contract, very foolish mistake and all this, and it's like, come on.
Obviously, you mentioned Fraser Forster, world-class saves. I mean, it doesn't matter what league you're playing in, just the athleticism, incredible, terrific stuff. This is another interesting question that Chris Boud posed. Should Celtic be planning for Forster's departure, and who should we be considering to bring in? Have you guys got any possible replacements? Well, actually, you know what? I'll start with the first point. We'll start with you, Chris. Should Celtic be planning for Fraser Forster's departure? When would that be?
We've got to plan for it, I think, because we don't want to be in a position where he does go. I'm not saying you give in to the fact that he's going to leave, but you've got to have plans in place in the event that he does go, that a bid comes in that's too big. Could it be this summer? He's putting in performances, he's done well in Europe, you've got a World Cup coming up. If he manages to get a shot at that, Joe Hart takes a wee injury.
I think he'll be away in this. Well, then again, I don't know. It's a weird one because, the fact that Roy Hodgson turns around and says, 6 months of playing only in the Scottish League might damage his chances. Right, so this league is not rated at all. I don't think people are going to match the valuation that Celtic have on him. I think Celtic rate him at about £10 million, right? Whether they do or don't, I think they do. I think they rate him at £10 million, and that's Celtic's prerogative. Good for them, of course. He's a Champions League goalkeeper who has performed at his best in the Champions League. Would we get £10 million for him, Chris?
I agree with you. I don't necessarily think that kind of bid would come in unless someone was desperate, unless a big team had an injury and their choices for a new keeper were limited. What I would say, if he doesn't go in the summer and we have him another year and he performs again in the Champions League,
he'll be at Christmas, I think, if he performs again in the Champions League, as in next Christmas.
I think he absolutely 100% deserved $10 million for him.
No
doubt about that in my mind.
I mean, when you think it, Craig Gordon, what did he go for? 9. He didn't play Champions League football, and
That's because Roy Keane was mental. Roy Keane paid £1 million for Varga. Do you know what I mean?
It's true. But
Gordon had proven himself to a degree on the international stage as well.
Yeah, but he
wasn't getting a cap for England and playing in the Champions League.
And Sunderland, with all due respect to Sunderland aren't challenging for the championship, for the championship in terms of the English Premier League.
If you think of the top, the kind of top 6 or 7 teams in the Premiership, they've all got really good goalkeepers, and I think you're gonna have to go way down the bottom half to find a club that are maybe willing to change goalkeeper, because goalkeeper isn't something that you change willy-nilly.
But he doesn't necessarily need to go to England.
No, of course not. But
I think he will go to England.
I think he wants to.
Aye, I think
he's English, so it makes sense that he would. But
I think a guy like Forster looks at the Premier League and thinks it's the best league in the world, and that's fair enough, because it's a terrific league. There's no doubt it's not the best in the world, but I think he looks at it and thinks, I want to go and play. I think he also thinks it'll boost his international chances.
I think he'd like to go back to Newcastle. I think if Tim Krul went somewhere else, then it's a possibility.
They might just bring Tim Krul doesn't really have there's not a lot. Michael Chapman would be able to tell us in terms of backup goalkeepers. I don't really know, if there's anyone of real quality. He's
especially Newcastle, having came from there, he's not going to want to go there and be second fiddle again. He's only going to go to a team if he's going to be first choice.
It's a fair point. If you look at someone like Southampton, what do you call him? Boric. Boric is terrific, but Boric.
Have you swapped deal?
Love it. Get involved. There you go. There's
a swap deal plus 10 million for us.
Yeah, I think if Foster went in the summer, I think we'll sign Shay Given. Whether we want him to, whether we don't.
Where is he now?
He's at Middlesbrough on loan just now. And to be fair, him joining Middlesbrough has, obviously the new manager has completely transformed their thingy. They've started to go up the table, stuff like that. I don't know. So I think it's a really good point, Chris. It's something we're going to have to face up to eventually. In terms of who should we be considering, goalkeeper is one of those. Well, you're either a decent goalkeeper or you're world class, and the world class is goalkeepers are out of our category unless we get another Foster and make them develop them on our own. But somebody like Foster only comes, once in a blue moon, and as far as most of us have been concerned. Actually, my father has said that Celtic just have consistently had bad goalkeepers. So it pains me to have. We've got a goalkeeper who is consistent, who is brilliant at the highest level, but we're living in the real world. We'll have to sell him. I would take 10 million. I think we'll get 6. Gary Hooper, we all thought we were going to get 12 million. We get 5 for him. I think he's in the same sort of bracket, because their argument still is, okay, he's doing it in 4 games a season, but the rest of the time he's in a Mickey Mouse league, and it's not the right way of thinking, but that's how they think. They don't give a shit about Scottish football.
But then if that was the case, then Wanyama wouldn't have went for the money he went for then?
Wanyama went for the money he went for because of the position. There's a difference between goalkeeping and...
Hooper didn't have any of his contract left,
fair enough. No, listen, I think Gary...
You can get that kind of money for players, it's just not that easy.
Yeah, I know. It is a hard one, but maybe an article about goalkeeping replacements, if a good did go, would be quite interesting. What else has happened in terms of Glasgow Celtic? Atic, McGregor, Rogic, all the way on loan. McGregor's continuing his loan spell at Notts County.
He scored a free kick for Notts County in a 4-1 defeat at the weekend.
5-1 maybe.
5-1.
Atic, whatever you call him, he has went to Shrewsbury.
Great team.
Could you not have just loaned him to an SPL team? I don't understand. What are Shrewsbury? I know they've just changed manager as well. They're not doing very well at this point in time. Can we not put him in a team that's playing, challenging for something, even if it is at that level, a team that's challenging for something? What are your thoughts on that, Boud? Is it just Lennon just now has the less players there that come into the being picked up for the squad, less excuses he has to make? That makes no sense, that question.
Well, he was getting a bit of flack for not playing youngsters, quite rightly. So I think it's maybe a bit off to say, he's trying to get rid of them now, so he doesn't have to get that flack. But I think it'll definitely do the boy good to get some games, whether as you say, that's the right level for him to be playing at, or the right team for him to be playing at. But
Dal McGeoch potentially going to Coventry on loan as well.
Yeah. He's really stalled in terms of his development. I thought he was going to actually push for a first team place.
He's another one who was injured.
I know.
Had difficulties.
I know. Rogic, we all just don't understand. I mean, how many games? I think he's only started, 2-3 games?
I've seen a couple of highlights when he came off the bench for Melbourne at the weekend, and he played through a few delightful through balls to set people up. But I think his team get beat. But I think he came on at 2-0 down or 3-0 down. But I wish we'd seen more of him.
He still sees his future at Celtic Park. So I think if this wasn't a World Cup year, I don't think he would have went on loan.
Yeah, no, fair enough. For the World Cup, you can't argue with a guy wanting to get first team football, and especially being in Australia, then he's going to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good. Liam Henderson signed a new 3-year deal
on the bench yesterday as well.
On the bench, yeah.
Big fan of his. I think we were all big fans of his. The thing I liked about what Neil Lennon was saying about Henderson is he's got his head screwed on. He's also a player who isn't, if he does something wrong, it doesn't dwell on it. So in terms of development, that's a great trait to have for a footballer, because
But what point does Celtic need to get to until the likes of Henderson and that will get a chance? Does this whole kind of fixation on going unbeaten and all that, do we need to wait until we get beat a game? And then it'll go, right, okay, there's nothing else to play for, we can let these kids have a shot.
Well, the thing with, and sorry, I'll just jump in here, the thing with Lennon is he's now really pushing the button in terms of talking about this unbeaten run.
That's just nonsense. Yeah, it'd be good to be unbeaten, but I really don't care.
He said it would be the greatest achievement of his managerial career so far.
That's just their piece.
He's that's him. I'm not blaming Lennon for that, right? Because we're out the Champions League and there's nothing to play for, basically, other than the Scottish Cup, right? He's got nothing to play for, so I don't blame Lennon for that. But it's frustrating.
Lennon's so lame should be win the double and get some youngsters played.
I think people would genuinely. He must know. We want to see our young players be developed. There's plenty of scope for that now. He must know that, though. He must know that nobody gives a shit about the unbeaten run.
I know, but the club do. Think of all the merchandise and all that they can sell about being invincible and all that.
Yeah, exactly. But it just takes one slip tomorrow. Wednesday we're playing Kilmarnock. It takes one slip at the back, and one defeat, and that's it. I don't know why we're dwelling on it, but we are. We're literally, right now, we are literally dwelling on it. Lee Griffiths. Have we got a question about Lee? I think there's a couple of questions.
Just why, I think, was a question, but I'll see if I can expand on that. Yeah, so the question was Griffiths, ?
And that was from
Mark O'Brien at Sparkle 1979.
Okay, so there seems to be a lot of negativity towards Lee Griffiths. Bowdy, tell me, would you like to see Lee Griffiths in the hoops?
He would certainly score goals. But, I mean, to be honest, we've got strikers that he's not willing to play right now, Neil Lennon, so I don't know what that does for the striker situation. If he brings Griffiths in, does that mean we're getting rid of Stokes? Does that mean Griffiths and Stokes are our strikers? What does that mean for Baldy? What does that mean for Pucky?
What does it mean for Mo Bangura?
That's the big question. Mo Griffiths, less Bangura?
That does not even make sense, but I love it. In terms of Bangura's been told he can leave, but nobody wants him.
He was told that about 3 seasons ago.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a wee shame for him.
I think he'll still turn out to be a Celtic legend.
Mo.
Number 7
Super Mo. Griffiths, when he was at Hibs last season, scored 31 goals in 66 appearances, which is a terrific ratio. But would you reckon he'd score goals?
Certainly SPL goals. Europe, we'd need to see.
Why do you think, Louis, there's so much negativity in terms of him signing for Celtic?
Because I think a lot of it is to do with his conduct off the pitch, which has kind of been in the papers. I don't think Celtic fans kind of are ones to put up with that kind of stuff.
But what about Frank McCaffrey? He's mentally. Who cares what they're like off the pitch? Sorry,
but I just don't. It doesn't excite me as a season ticket holder. I'm not going to go and get Griffiths in the back of my top. and if I see anybody with Griffiths in the back of their top, I would quite like to slap them.
Hey, my name's Griffiths.
No, change your name.
That's really sinister, Louis.
I know.
Do you think you've scored goals though?
Yeah, I think he would in the SPL, but we
don't have a striker in the SPL who's scoring goals. Is that not what we need?
I know, but how many goals are we scoring? It's not as if we're not scoring goals. We're winning games 4-0, 5-0, 7-0.
Yeah, and who's scoring those goals? Chris Commons. Well, who's scoring those goals? Chris Commons. Chris Commons gets 17 league goals this season. If Chris Commons gets injured, we're in trouble.
We don't play with a striker, but
this is one of the reasons we should be playing with a striker, because we can't continually rely on Chris Commons.
But we have Bookie.
And also, you're talking about scoring all these goals. Yeah, last few games 3-4-3 or whatever, in the 7-0. But before the 7-0.
1-0 wins against St Johnstone. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I just don't. I think in terms of the club going forward and developing and getting better, I just don't see him being part of that. I don't see him kind of easing us through qualification for the Champions League. I don't see him giving us a great hope of advancing from the group stages of the Champions League either.
23-year-old striker who scored however many goals it was.
He's got 12 goals in 20 for Wolves. 12 goals in 26 games for Wolves. He's got 31 goals and 66 for Hibs. And that's a really, really, really poor Hibs team he was in, and he was their best player. And he was. This the thing I like about Griffiths, right? I don't know if this is, some people might see this as a negative thing, but when he wasn't playing well, he was still scoring goals. I remember the semi-final against Falkirk where he had a terrible game. He got a hat-trick. Now, okay, no matter what you say about, it was Falkirk, it doesn't matter. It's a Scottish Cup semi-final at Hampden. The Hibs were terrible, and he still got a hat-trick. I think... I get your points, Louis. I know where you're coming from, and I know where most of the support are coming from. He seems like a wee fanny, frankly, but isn't Anthony Stokes has had problems in the past? Is Anthony Stokes scoring goals? No, he's not. Is Samaras scoring goals? No, he's not. Is Pucky scoring goals? He is scoring goals, but Pucky isn't an out-and-out striker the way Griffiths is. I think Pucky and Griffiths would work. They would drag defenders all over the place. I don't necessarily think he's going to. I think you look at your squad, and if you're bringing a player in, will they improve the squad? Are they better than what we've got? And I think Griffiths is, as far as a striker. I think he's better than Stokes. He's a different player to Samaras, but he'll score more goals than Samaras. See, for £500,000, 800. Okay, let's say £1 million. I'd take the gamble, Chris.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a big part of the problem is, as well as maybe some off-field antics, people want a replacement for Hooper, and by that they want a very good striker who's going to cost a few million because he's already proven it. And they don't see Griffiths as that big star striker. And it's exactly what Lou was talking about, getting Griffiths in the back of your top. Yeah. It's not that glamorous, exciting, but for the cost of £1 million, is he worth that? Yes, he is. The amount of goals he'll score if he's played, yes, he is. Should we be maybe looking at a second striker to complement that? Possibly, depending on what's happening with Baldy. As Stokes past it, it looks like it, but you never know. As you say, Pucky isn't an out striker, so we need goal scorers. And if Baldy isn't going to be that, we're a couple of men shy.
I think you're right. I think the thing is, fans are kind of growing tired of the whole developing a player by an unknown player and try and develop him and hope that he'll make his money. If Lennon's coming out and saying we can afford to pay £6 million for a striker, and then you go and try and get
that was an odd statement. I thought. No, I don't think he had to come out. I thought it was an odd statement to come away with. I don't think he had to say that. I don't know why he said that, because now people, rightly or wrongly, are thinking, well, we've got £6 million for a striker. Why aren't we paying £6 million for a striker?
Yeah, well, that's
and then any club you go to buy a striker,
yeah,
might cost $4 million. Now it costs $6 million.
Yeah, well, that's it, because you've said you're going to pay $6. It plays into the hands of the selling club, whatever club that is. Wolves are now like, hold on a minute, these guys want $1 million. No, we'll take $2. They can turn the screw because he signed a new deal. So I don't know. We're not going to get a Stephen Fletcher because first of all, he looks broken. He just looks broken. He's on 60 grand a week, and he's worth at least 10 million quid. We're not going to get that. I don't see the problem in signing Griffiths. See, if it doesn't work out, what we really lost? We've lost £1 million, which in the grand scheme of things is a lot of money, but we've already wasted it on these, Banguras and your. I'd rather waste money on a Scottish talent than a.
I'd rather.
I don't want to waste money.
I'd rather just wait until and give this boy McGregor a chance. I've seen some of the goals he scored. Notts County done a compilation of all the goals he scored for him since he's been on loan, and it's on their YouTube page. If you've not seen it, it's worth looking at. Some of the goals are fantastic.
Yeah,
and he's a young boy. He's got some experience down there. Bring him back in the summer.
He's not going to play him. We've just literally talked about how he's not going to play him. So it doesn't matter whether he's scoring goals for Notts County or not. He's not going to play.
The other thing that we want to be thinking about, if he's going to buy someone in January, we want to be thinking about Champions League qualification in the summer. Do we have someone that can go into that team, score goals against not necessarily the best competition, but European level competition? Because right now, it's got to be a concern, I think.
Yeah.
We scraped through this season.
And a lot of it was to do with Samaras. I think if you look at... Okay, so we're moving on from Celtic, but just before we do, we have the Kilmarnock game. Should Johansson/Baldy start? Would Pucky deserve a start, Chris? Or is it going to be the same old story?
I could tell you the lineup right now if you want.
This thing we're looking forward to the Hibs game, thinking we might get the Baldy and the Pucky start. No, neither. I'm not even starting Pucky, who's been getting a go. Have that, Celtic fans. I'd love to see them all start. I think you could take that gamble. Johansson really, really interested to see him. I don't know if he's ready for 90 minutes, but Baldy and Pucky should be starting. Why? Just why, Neil Lennon?
It should be. Do you know what? The reason they should be starting is to see if they're going to fail, let them fail on the field. Don't just assume they're not good. He's not good. I'm not saying that Lennon is assuming he's not good, but what I just don't understand why we say the same thing every week. Why they not play Neil? Why? Because they could be garbage together, but they could be good. So when do you play them?
And don't worry, Chris Commons is still there if they'll flip their pants.
Maybe we should be resting Chris Commons for games like this, just because ultimately he is going to.
He was in Dubai a couple of weeks ago.
These players need breaks, though. Come on, they should every couple of weeks they should be on away to Dubai for a wee break. And
Chris Commons can do whatever he wants, all right.
In terms of so we've got Kilmarnock. I don't think there's any real point trying to figure out who's going to play because you just don't know. What we do. It's going to be Charlie Mulgrew, Scott Brown, me. Okay, so any other kind of points you want to make about Celtic before we move on to England?
No.
Happy with that? Cool. Okay, so let's move on to the English Premier League. So, England, Manchester United have signed Juan Mata from Chelsea. A terrific signing, I think, for them. 37 million, 37.5 million pounds. Good signing, Louis?
Fantastic signing. Brilliant player. I think he could have a huge bearing on where they finish this season in terms of, are they going to get into the Champions League. I think it's a very tall order for them to get fourth spot, but if they do it, I think a lot of it will be down to him and how well he adapts to that team.
Juan Mata, what a missing link for Manchester United. I know you're a Kagawa fan. Does that just mean his time is now done at United?
You've got to think, but Juan Mata, he's a piece of terrific.
Yeah.
He really is. But Man U need a lot more, is what I would say. I don't think that solves their problems. However, it's a great signing for them.
Do you think they've strengthened with that money in the wrong place?
Yes, to be fair. I think it could have been better spent elsewhere, but I don't know if they could have got a player of Mata's quality in any other position. It's a player that's came up.
Yeah.
You've got to take that.
I think if you've got that money, then if Mata comes on the is available, you take him at any time.
Yeah, I mean they've been screaming out for a playmaker, and he's exactly that. You look at how many chances he's created, and it's insane. But there is obviously a huge, big rebuilding process that needs to go on there throughout that team. But I think as a kind of quick fix to appease the fans and get the mood a bit more positive at the place, I think it's a great bit of business.
I think Louis raises a really good point. Very similar to the signing of Ozil at Arsenal. The signing of Ozil, I thought, meant more than just signing a footballer. It meant more than just signing...
It's laying a marker down.
It's laying a marker down. It gets the fans excited. It boosts everybody's confidence, thinking, wow, we get a world-class player like that. I think Mata will do the same. I think he'll get a lot more out of that Manchester United creatively.
Yeah, I think Mata could be more influential in terms of how Man U play and the kind of direction they go in than Ozil will at Arsenal.
You think so?
Yeah.
Boud?
I think possibly.
I think Ozil fits in at Arsenal, whereas Mata at Man U, I think he is going to take them somewhere and change them.
It's a very interesting point.
And here's a question.
Okay.
Talk of Rooney going to Chelsea.
And PSG.
Yes.
And Real Madrid as well, apparently.
If that happens, are Man U stronger being Mata up and Rooney down?
No.
I'm not saying obviously they're stronger if they keep Rooney, but swapping Rooney for Mata essentially.
That's a good point.
I would say it's difficult. See, the thing is, Rooney has been dropping further back over the past couple of years, so he's not the centre forward that he was. So as he comes further back in the pitch, that's more where you're getting into the realms of the likes of Mata playing off, because they both kind of like to play off a striker. So for that point of view, you could have Mata behind Van Persie, and I think Mata would do a better job there than possibly Rooney would.
So it's an interesting point, Chris. Funnily enough, the interview, the press conference, Mata talked about how eager he is to link up with Rooney.
I think obviously Man U want to keep Rooney, or you would imagine so, because
apparently Real Madrid are sniffing around to the point where his contract's up next season, and he's been seen as a target for Real. What
about the fact that it's been reported that Man U had or Moyes had let Rooney in on the transfer kind of what the club are going to do in the transfers and how much money they had in the direction, and kind of divulged some information that usually a player wouldn't know.
Just basically saying, here's what ambition.
Aye, this is exactly what's happening, and he was being kept up to date with the whole Mata thing and their other targets.
I think
just in a bid to kind of keep him, and there's talk of him being made club captain as well.
I've said it from the start. I think he is one of the best players in the world. He's not at the high level, but he's brilliant. I just think Manchester United, I just think he's so manipulative, and he continually upsets the kind of ether in terms of the dressing room and stuff like that. But do you go that little? Do you appease a player like that just because he is so good, or do you take a stand, Chris?
In the past, Ferguson had taken a stand, but to be honest, right now, Man U aren't that strong. They don't have that many world-class players, so to be honest, if you can do a bit extra and keep Rooney on side, I think you do it right now, because you've got RVP, you've got now Mata, and you've got Rooney, and that's probably the extent of your world-class players.
The other thing as well is that Moyes himself isn't in a position to try and lay down the law to someone like Rooney or anyone, because he's on a sugly peg himself. It's not as if he's really got the power to be telling. But the one thing for me is,
he doesn't want to be Barry Ferguson.
No,
Ferguson.
If you're gonna ever get money, if they're gonna get a big transfer deal for Rooney and make a lot of money off him, they're gonna have to sell him now.
Yeah. In terms of Mata, 87.9% pass success rate. Predominantly played on the right hand side for Chelsea. Would this be an opportunity, Chris? I know you're a Kagawa fan, to balance the team out by playing him on the right and playing Kagawa on the... Well, Kagawa doesn't play very well on the left, does he?
Young Januzaj is always going to be in the team now, so
I mean, that's the thing.
Kagawa's
You could have Mata, Mata on the right, Januzaj on the left, and Kagawa through the middle. That to me would be great. It's not going to happen, but he's going to end up back at Dortmund, doesn't he?
Probably. I'm sure there'll be plenty of other suitors as well, but Dortmund...
they've shown an interest again.
Yeah, and they've lost players. Goats are injury ravaged as well, so and they should have some money in the bank, so I'm sure they would be glad to get Kagawa back for a little bit cheaper than they sold him on. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be interesting to see how Mata is utilised at Manchester United. Talking about another match, a midfielder that Manchester United could do with, Cabaye, French international player, plays for Newcastle United. I'm just reading his Wikipedia. Now, Cabaye's been... you saying that they've had an offer accepted, Newcastle?
Yep. Just happened tonight.
What was the offer?
It's not been kind of disclosed.
Undisclosed.
But Newcastle have accepted a bid from PSG, so that I think he's got a medical tomorrow, so as you're listening to this, he will be on a treadmill in Paris.
Cool.
I think they had the initial bid of 14 million rejected, and there was chat it was going to be 25 million, but whether it was that high. We got a question from a regular cynic, Mr. Michael Chapman. That's NUFC_monkey.
It's a stupid Twitter name, isn't it?
You'll need to change it.
Idiot.
Is he worth 25 million? Rumoured figure. They're asking from PSG. That's a £20 million profit, basically.
I like him.
Talk it back.
I think he's brilliant. I remember watching the game at Manchester United Newcastle, and him and Tiote. Tiote is just a thug, but he's very good at what he does. They complemented each other very well. I think the PSG need him. I don't know if they do, actually.
Well, I completely agree with your early statement that Man U should be all over that.
Yeah, well,
I think he would slot in there.
I think it would be. Listen, Tom Cleverley should not be playing for Manchester United because he's just not good enough. Someone like Cabaye would easily slide into Manchester and bring a balance to that team, but he would bring goals. He scored a lot of goals.
Would you have Cabaye over Mata? If you couldn't afford to,
I don't know why you're considering that Mata all day long. What's the matter with you?
Yeah. I do love...
Was that one not good enough for you?
One thing I would say.
Right.
That's fair.
You're just saying one now. But Cabaye, I think, is he worth it? In today's modern...
Cabaye is, aye. Can we delete that?
No, we're keeping that in. That's going to be this week's advert for the podcast. In terms of what players are going for these days, he absolutely is. I think he's brilliant.
I just don't want Alan Pardew to have 25 million.
I just don't want Alan Pardew to exist as a human being.
He's horrible, isn't he?
Horrible man. He probably punches kittens in the face. Maybe not.
If I was Michael Chapman, it would turn me to be a Sunderland fan.
Aren't Sunderland great?
Well, what a
Let's
team.
talk about Sunderland.
Cup final.
Oh, lovely guys.
Turned our season around, his
Terrific
best player.
stuff. He's a great man. On that note, did you see the penalties? Manchester United and Sunderland. Have you ever seen 10 worst penalties in your life?
Shockers.
So bad. Ki Sung-young, terrific penalty. He's really starting to play well. He's really starting to control the pace and the flow of games now.
No wonder Swansea wanted him back, but can't get him.
I know. Did they actually? They wanted to sign him back. That's right.
Because he's only on loan, but they just never
put in a
they never put in a clause.
Aye, I pure think he's brilliant. Okay, just looking at other some news. Hi, so why are Sunderland suing Di Canio? I heard he'd made comments.
Yeah, he came out and said the club were weak and then started slagging off players specifically.
Calling someone weak, that's unlike a fascist.
He slagged off the legend as John O'Shea and called him two-faced.
Yep.
Now,
he's a ball-faced, but he's not two-faced. No, is that not a thing? Okay, go on, sorry, Lee.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a case of sour grapes for the big man.
From the fascist. The fascist known as, you are poor, you are weak, we must change everything.
Yeah, called them cowards as well.
Aye. Just let him rant himself out. As long as he's not on a podium in the middle of Rome, you're happy. We're just looking at Wenger to extend deal and make big buys after £150 million Puma kit deal.
So that's over 5 years.
30
million a season. It's the biggest ever deal in England for kits.
Is it? It must be one of the biggest.
Liverpool Warrior one.
It must be one of the biggest in the world, I take it.
Why not? Aye.
Brilliant. He's so happy with himself. No, but you got to assume maybe Real Madrid or Barcelona, but 130 million quid extra on top of obviously any kind of transfers that you bring in. And geez, can Arsenal become the force that we all think they can be in the Premier League?
I think with that kind of money, and as much as everybody likes to slag off Wenger, if he's spending money, I don't think it's impossible Arsenal become the dominant force in England.
I still see Klopp for Arsenal in a year or two, a season. Not maybe at the end of next season. I think if Arsenal win the league this year, he might chuck it. Because I think...
Well, he's about to sign a new deal.
Still.
What?
I don't know. Well, shut up, though. Right? No, I think if someone like PSG did come in, like if we won the title now,
PSG, I think that was the one he's been linked with the most. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, 30 million, an extra 30 million. It's not to be sniffed at, but then Arsene Wenger's not one to go and splash the cash on just anyone.
But it's not like he spent 70 million this summer. I don't know.
And we've got to remember there was all this Wenger had money and didn't spend it. There was very much, I think, pressure from the board where Wenger couldn't spend as much, and I think he took the hit for not spending money.
I think he's a very frugal man in terms of how he manages his team and how he runs his club. I like Arsene Wenger, always have. He's pure cool as well because he's French.
French people are cool, that's science.
He probably reads really cool books and has a great taste in music. Just like Michael Lustig. Any other kind of point you want to make about, because there was no Premier League games this season, this weekend, it was the
wee cup.
The cup. So there wasn't a great amount of actual interesting fixtures because it was all lower league, and as we know, if it's not the Premier League, it's none of our business. Anything else you can... Well, Mike, I suppose this would come into the kind of European kind of front. Yeah, it does. But Michael Essien, so we'll get to that in a moment. Yeah, any kind of points you want to make? Bain signs a new deal at Everton. Do you think he's looked at Manchester United and thought, I may as well just stay here?
Yeah, I think so. I think we spoke about it last week. We were saying how certainly in my view Everton is kind of where I would want to be in the Premier League. I think they're doing great things and they're really progressing, and especially if you're a younger player, it's a great place to be.
I don't want to go to Man U and get more money.
That's why you are king of the world.
My team will finish above you. There you go.
Just looking at some of the other sort of rumours doing the rounds. Januzaj to PSG. Louis?
Not going to happen.
Would it be a good move? Or?
No, I think he's at Man U, and he's in a team where he has been the kind of one bright light of the season for them.
See, for an 18-year-old, he shows no fear at all.
No.
He's brilliant.
I think he would be wise to stay where he is, just for the fact that he is so young, and he could grow into that team and become a mainstay, and if not one of the most important players in the team for quite a number of years at such a young age.
I totally agree. He may well go at some point. I think it's too early just now. Chris, this is one for you. Manchester United are also looking at Toni Kroos from Bayern and Marco Reus for Dortmund. What would that do to them, especially with a Mata in the team? They would score about 1 billion goals.
They would. They would score 1 billion goals. But then it gets to the point where who you fitting in? If you're throwing...
You need Carricker in there, don't you?
Yeah. I think with Mata, Reus... Rooney, young boy whose name I can't say properly.
Yeah.
You can't have all of those players there.
You can.
You can. Well, unless you're playing Rooney as a forward again, you get the striker.
See Barcelona, they should get rid of Xavi because you can have that many players.
That's 2. You need 2.
It's a very good point. I did name 2. Marco Reus would be.
But yeah, every team in the world should be trying to sign Marco Reus because he should have won the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah,
he should have.
The Marco Reus to Barcelona thing, it's been denied and then seemed to be true and then denied again. But I think Marco Reus could easily play for Barcelona. So I think Manchester United will have a fight in their hands if he wants. Well, then Bakary Sagna, Manchester City, PSG, Galatasaray, Monaco, Fenerbahce, and Real Madrid are after Sagna.
Shut the hell up!
Shut the front door. Am I right, brother? 30-year-old. He's at a contract. I think maybe that's the interest, but he's not good enough for any of those clubs.
That's the thing. I would probably take him for Celtic.
I don't know if we would, to be honest.
So why would those players be, or those teams be? Yeah, that's just a bit silly.
It's rubbish. West Ham are lining up a move for Osvaldo from Southampton.
It's not happening either.
They're not happening, no.
Please give that the big no.
Pochettino said today, he was asked about it and he said that he's definitely not moving. He doesn't want him to leave.
Well, there's rumours that he's going back to Serie A, and you're looking at Inter Milan, Fiorentina and Juve all after him. We spoke to Chris Armani said last week that he wouldn't want him back at Roma. It'd be interesting to see what we've not. Obviously, I've seen him.
Was that not? Was Chris Armani not saying that about Eric Lamela as well?
Yes, in fact, it was Lamela I said, not Osvaldo. So it'd be interesting to see what his thoughts.
Because there's talk of him leaving Tottenham. There's also talk of that Cabaye that Tottenham signed. Apparently, he's going to be leaving. Could be going to Italy.
Yeah, I've seen that. He's decent. He's good. Schalke apparently now open to selling Draxler to Arsenal. What they need, I think he's brilliant.
Aye, Draxler's a fantastic player and would do well at Arsenal.
Yeah. Ross McCormack, one-time Celtic target, one-time Rangers player. West Ham are looking at him for £5 million. That'd be alright, eh?
That's also not happening either. West Ham just signed Borriello and not Chirino.
Oh yeah,
and that's them done for January.
Well, I don't understand why Celtic wouldn't be looking at someone like Ross McCormack.
We can afford a £6 million
because they're getting Lee Griffiths.
Exactly, for 5
plus 1.
They're just not comparable.
Okay, so that's kind of looking at England. Let's move on and check out what's happening in other leagues around the world. SEN to Milan. Can he help Seedorf turn things around? What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, I think SEN and Seedorf is a great midfield pairing.
No, you've misunderstood the point.
No, I think he will be a good move. He's certainly no spring chicken. I would like to see some younger
I think he's
players come in. He's 31, I think.
31. Okay.
But no, I think SEN's Milan, to spout a little cliche, need a bit of steel in that midfield.
There's rumours that De Jong's going to Liverpool because as kind of cover for Lucas. De Jong. Okay, well, sorry. Well, actually, what? So De
Jong's a bit pants.
You like SEN?
I do like SEN.
You're a Milano person who likes Milan.
Yes, and he knows what it is. There's not many people on that Milan team that know what it is to win. So he kind of brings a bit of experience to him.
What are your thoughts on it, Louis?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know when he was at Real Madrid,
right back a lot at Real Madrid, wasn't he?
Yeah, but Jose Mourinho really liked him. He thought very highly of him. But I don't think he's really played that much at Chelsea, has he?
No, he's really not.
But I mean, to AC Milan, who are in such a kind of bad way just now, I think it can only be a kind of positive move. And as you say, it just gives them a bit of something a bit solid in the centre of the pitch.
Yeah, no, I agree. I said to you, Chris, and the rest of the cynics that Milan really should be looking for young, hungry players. And I'm not saying that the SN can't do a job, but he's not really played that much football in the last maybe season and a half overall.
Did you see Milan during the week in the cup game?
I've seen the highlights.
When they get beat, they get put out, and it was a terrible performance.
Really bad.
I mean, players just literally, if you think of 10 Samarasses just walking about the pitch, plodding along like they didn't care. Balotelli literally just watched a boy run past him at one point, didn't even think about having a jog. It was really, really bad, and they looked very poor and very kind of disinterested. So I think Seedorf's got a huge task in front of him to even get them to stay where they are right now. But isn't it funny when you think of the position that Man U are in, the position that AC Milan are in?
It's a good
two clubs that really need to rebuild, but have found themselves in such a bad way and so low in the table.
Two of the biggest clubs in the world, easily. I mean, in terms of prestige.
This is the thing as well, and I suppose similar with Man U to a degree as well, but with Milan, as well as that managing piece, the personnel aren't great. Even if they were all given their all, that isn't a team I think that could win Serie A.
No. But AC Milan and Man U are such big clubs. It's got to be obvious mismanagement of both clubs for them to be in such a position. When you think of the rest of their rivals, aren't they?
Well, to be fair though, as we keep coming back to Manchester United won the league last season, and AC Milan won it 2 years ago. Not 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's Allegri won it in his first season. The point being, every club goes through a period of change. Just looking at the results from Serie A, Juventus drew with Lazio. Napoli drew with Chievo. Roma won 3-1. I watched the Juve game as well, but I watched the first half of the Roma game, and your boy Gervinho. I mean, we've talked about him all season, but what a forehead! That's genuinely what I want to talk about. What a forehead this lad has, eh?
Top forehead.
Top forehead. But that, I mean, obviously Juve are still top. Napoli are falling away, which delights me no end. Haha. Roma still keeping in touch with them. But yeah,
which is nice. Keeping in touch with them.
God bless them. Good for them.
The odd phone call.
Yeah. How's it going?
Text.
But yeah, so I mean, it's looking like it's Juve's title, but Roma look like they're going to push them to all the way. So the SEN positive signing for all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Looking at PSG in for Messi
again this summer. The rumours going about how much that would cost them, and Barca have came straight out and said, "Nah."
Barca have a new president. Because your fella before was stepped down for mismanagement of the club due to the Neymar deal. Chris, how much would it take to sign Lionel Messi? It's mental to think about.
Isn't his release clause like 250 million?
I was going to say, I think you would literally have to spend £250 million to get him. Fair play if you came in with 200 million, maybe, but
would you take it?
They had 50 million.
You would take it though, wouldn't you?
£250 million, that is a lot of money. The fans would be up for it, but see, to be honest, with that money, you could then just buy
everybody.
Literally everybody.
Buy Ronaldo.
Oh, I'd love to see that. Oh, that would be lovely. Oh, I would genuinely love to see that.
Imagine PSG bought both of them.
No, I can't. Sorry. That was quite funny. I'm pretty hilarious at times.
What would that mean for PSG? Would that mean they are... I mean, just now, obviously they've got a great team, a lot of good players, but you know, they're French, so they're not really a top European team.
They're French.
But if they sign Messi...
I think, joking aside, I think £200 million for one player, no matter... He is the best player in the world.
If Gareth Bale's worth 100 million, then...
But it's going to happen.
Lee Griffiths is worth 200 million.
That's a correct statement. Accurate.
That's the thing, though. It's going to happen one day. I mean, if you've got Neymar and Bale gone for 100 million, then it has to it's only ever going to go up.
It's only ever going to go up, but I think the point would be £200 million for one player. What happens if he breaks his leg?
He's insured.
No, I'm talking about he's insured if he retires, but he won't be insured if he's not playing because he's injured. Do you know what I mean? So you've paid 200 million.
Would be a fab on.
It would be a fab on. That's not really a. It would be a. I don't know how that works from a legal standpoint. But there you go. That's incredible news there, Chris. He would be a five bottom. Falcao injured. We've got an article written by the terrific Marek Robert about, because it's still all very up in the air in terms of if he's going to miss the World Cup, if he's going to play. He's certainly out for the rest of the season. It's whether he's going to miss the World Cup or not.
Yeah, he looks at some of the possible replacements that Colombia would have as well.
Yeah, that'll be up to tomorrow, which is obviously the podcast going up today as well on Tuesday. So have a look for that because it's a really interesting article. Good to see that Marek's also offering alternatives to Falcao, but they would be sad for the World Cup. For you want the best players playing, obviously, and if he's not playing, then it's going to affect Colombia, who a lot of people would see would maybe be dark horses.
We've already lost Ibrahimovic, obviously not going to the World Cup. So
yeah, he didn't qualify. That's
no. But what I mean is one of the top players not going.
I'm only joking. I was being facetious. I apologise.
Mulgrews won't be there either.
Well, Charlie Mulgrew could have played for America, and he chose to play for Scotland instead. So
what a poor choice.
But no, Falcao, genuinely one of the best strikers in the world. It's a shame that he won't be there, Chris, isn't it?
Definitely. His club form's actually been a lot better than his national form, but he's still incredible striker.
Yeah.
Big shame that he won't be there.
Yeah,
assuming he isn't, but
as I say, the article's going to be
good for
up tomorrow. Our thoughts and prayers are with Falcao. What? Our thoughts and prayers are with Falcao. I hope he gets to the World Cup. Well, we should probably wrap this up because we've got a bit loopy. Just talking about the website. So we'll have our usual previews up. Serie A, Spain, Serie A, Spain, Italy, Spain, Germany. No, we don't have Germany, but we'll get Germany. Do Germany this week, Chris. Yeah, we've gone loopy. 90MinuteCynic.com. At 90MinuteCynic is the Twitter account. I'm Chris Gallagher. At the Gallatron is my Twitter handle. Louis McCaffrey.
At LJFMC. I remembered it this week.
Good stuff. Christopher Boud.
At the Chris Boud.
The Chris Boud.
The Chris Boud, yes.
It would be a fab bottom. It's still one of the greatest things I've ever heard anyone say in my entire life. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/90MinuteCynic, and we'll speak to you down the road.
Smoke your cigarettes down to the bone. Since you vowed to back it and you're too proud to sack it, you have to carry on. Think you had it under control. Let's go forward and don't look back no more. Could break your heart and damage your soul. Well, they stole my name after they stole my shame. Stole my name. Smoke your cigarettes down to the bone. It's best not to mention you're craving for attention. Your love for fame, your blood from the stone. Too busy to notice that you throw. Turn to dust, there's no one left to trust. Last chance and your mind will blow. Suppose